So I'm Larry Hindle again from Evergreen here in the north end of Seekonk. I'm going to talk about a Garden Phlox, a new series of Garden Phlox that came out several years ago. So Garden Phlox has been around a long time. Some of you might know it as summer phlox. So it's the tall phlox, not the creeping one that blooms those pastel colors in early spring, but this is a tall Garden Phlox. A lot of problems with Garden Phlox over the years has been powdery mildew. And I know that, my grandmother had Garden Phlox and my parents had it, and it always was susceptible to mildew. So the leaves would get all white. When the leaves get covered with white, then they're not photosynthesizing, so the plant goes into decline and the leaves fall off. So several years ago, some hybridizers came up with this new variety called Opening Act. So it's an Opening Act series of phlox. It comes in several colors. This one here is a light pink. It's called Ultra Pink. There's an Opening Act white, there's an Opening Act blush, so there's lots of them. But as you can see, if you look at the foliage, there's not a touch of mildew on it at all. They're really clean leaves, which means if the leaves are clean, which means they're doing their thing, and they're producing carbohydrates and sugars for the plant, allowing it to grow and produce nice flowers. What I want to show you today is how you can also cut back phlox, or how we already have, and it's blooming again. This species of phlox, or this hybrid of phlox, blooms in June. Most Garden Phlox, the old varieties, would bloom in late June, July. This new series blooms in June for probably 4 weeks. It's a long bloomer. It's a great plant. You can see it gets about 18 to 24 inches high. And once it's done blooming, if you cut back like we did in this pot, we cut it back to about maybe 12 inches, and it is now putting up new flowers. We did the same thing with this guy in the garden. We cut off the spent flowers, and now it's starting to produce all new flowers again. So that's Garden Phlox, and I'm going to move on to another hydrangea. Okay, so we're back to hydrangeas. We talked about different species of hydrangeas. Right in front of me is that old variety of big leaf hydrangeas, and they just don't bloom as well because we're too far north, and they don't bloom on new wood as well as the panicles that I talked about earlier. And this is another species called arborescens. So this is a hybrid native. It's a hybrid of our native hydrangea, or smooth hydrangea. It's Hydrangea arborescens. What I like about the new varieties are, number one, arborescens will bloom in full sun, or it'll bloom, as you can see here, we're under the canopy of 2 large oak trees. This plant maybe gets 1 hour of sunlight, and there's another arborescens we have on the other side of the garden that never sees sunlight, and it's in full bloom also. So the beauty of these is they can go full sun to full shade and give you mid to late summer color every summer. So like the panicles, they bloom on new wood or current season's growth. So you can trim them back in the early spring as low as you want. You can go to within 6 inches, a foot of the ground. They're going to produce new wood, new leaves, and then bloom all summer long. It doesn't matter how cold our winters get, how far back you cut them, you cannot hurt this hydrangea. You'll always get flower. Unlike the blue hydrangeas, those mop heads, if you cut them too low to the ground, then you're going to be wiping out last year's flowers that were made for this year. And if we get a cold winter, sometimes you lose the flower buds altogether. So on this one here, you can see right now it's at least 5 feet tall, and it's reaching up to 6 feet. It's because I didn't cut it back this spring. We ran out of time. I didn't get into the garden in time, but I have the space here to allow this to happen. This guy's been here for over 10 years. Normally what I'll do is I'll get in there and I'll cut it back to about 3 feet. If we look inside here, you can see that in past years I have cut it to about 2.5 to 3 feet off the ground. That keeps it in check. This year, like I said, we didn't do it, so we've got this monster of a beautiful hydrangea, but don't think yours have to get this big, because they won't. If you want to cut them back to about 2 feet off the ground, you can easily keep them at about a 4-foot plant. The time of year to do that would be April, before the new growth begins. So I'm going to show you another variety of the arborescens. Like this one is called Incrediball, which is what I meant to tell you. This is a variety called Incrediball. There's another one over there called Invincible Spirit, and it's a pink variety. It's the pink form of this one. Okay, so we're back looking at another variety of the arborescens hydrangeas, Hydrangea arborescens, the smooth hydrangea. This also is a hybrid called Invincible Spirit. This is Invincible Spirit number 2. It's a proven winner. Like the Incrediball is a proven winner plant that was hybridized by the Proven Winner organization and marketed as such. So you treat it the same way. You can cut it as low as you want in the early spring, keep it under a certain height. It'll bloom on all new growth, and it'll stop blooming in June and go right through the entire summer. And like you can see here, there is some dappled sunlight coming in now from the west, but really we're under this canopy again of this second oak, and it doesn't really see much sun at all. And look, it's in full bloom. Invincibelle Spirit, when it first came out, I think what happens, we have to pay a royalty to grow this plant, and that royalty goes towards breast cancer research, and it still does to this day. When it was first introduced all those years ago, it was meant to go towards breast cancer research, and I believe it still does. So that's another good thing about Invincibelle Spirit. So I'm Larry Hindle, the owner of Evergreen Tree and Landscape here in the north end of Seekonk. Garden center, retail nursery, fields, we grow just about everything.